Mind Identity: How to Gain the Universe by Alex Brady. This time we'll be covering body identity. Stick around to learn the system of identity that mind identity is in contrast to. Likely you'll find that body identity, what we'll be covering, is how you currently perceive yourself. Succinctly put, mind identity theory says that we are not this. So in order to learn how to personally experience the transcendental level of yourself that mind identity will take you to, it's first imperative that you learn where we're moving from. This time around, we'll be covering a list of beliefs we currently hold about ourselves that are within the body ID thought system. Also, we'll be doing a body ID exercise where we consider our own self-concept and the alternative. Stick around. As a reminder, the only step necessary is to remind yourself in the instant of now that mind identity theory simply exists as a possible explanation for your life and identity. Body identity. Historically, humanity has identified with human bodies that engage in earthly relationships over the span of 70, 80, 140 years, the average lifespan for a given time and place in history. If you examine what you believe, likely you can admit that what is covered here is the readily apparent state of what you call life. While propositioned to be incorrect, there is nothing moralistically wrong with believing the beliefs in the following list. In fact, you will continue to believe the items in the list for as long as you find useful. Learning mind identity theory and how to see from mind identity can be added as an additional knowledge and skill set to what I'm sure you will find to be fairly fundamental principles that you live by. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. But to believe you are a body is to believe the following things about yourself. Biology. You believe you are flesh and blood, an earthling, a mammal, and a human. You believe you began when you were born. Perhaps you believe you began as early as conception. To sustain yourself, you maintain homeostasis through eating, hydrating, and excreting. You, who started at birth, will at some point end in death, a cessation of your identity. You strive to maintain good health and safety measures, or else you may die sooner. Despite your efforts, you have little to no control over actual external circumstances. You believe you live in a society with other human beings. You believe you have many roles within society: student, parent, child, employee, employer, citizen, etc. You believe that to live an appropriate life is to properly fulfill these roles according to societal expectations. Your primary concern is your safety and well-being, as this guarantees your identity's continuance. You think everyone else is a separate being whose primary concern is their own safety and well-being. Perception. You gain your information through 4 physical senses: sight, sound, smell, and touch. You believe objects you interact with will behave the same as they did in the past. Your reaction to current events are based on reasonable judgment of past understandings, based on the information gained through those senses. Knowledge. You believe knowledge takes the form of facts and figures like you learned via schooling and education. Emotional state. Your life experience is a series of reactions to events outside of your control. Your emotional response to these events are justified by the events themselves. That is to say, there is a proper emotional response to have, and you are doing that one. Because your emotional response is justified by external events out of your control, you are not in control of your emotional response to any given event. Because your emotional state is a collection of your emotional responses, your emotional state is likewise out of your control. You hate yourself, but you also love yourself, right? Mental state. Your thinking happens to you. Your mental space is a barely examined continuous stream of ambient chatter. You believe the thoughts you think are accurate perceptions of the world around you. You use thought to analyze past events to better predict future events. You are your opinions. A condemnation of your opinion is a condemnation of you. Fear is your primary motivator. Fear of death, fear of stress, fear of not being enough. As a recap, you're born, you spend a finite lifetime in a state of survival, then you die. Body identity. Now for an exercise. Take a moment and consider yourself, who you think you are. Your names, age, sex, location, job, family, all of your history. Bring all of it. You may already have some spiritual ideas about yourself. Bring those too. If you need help thinking, consider this to be an icebreaker in which you introduce yourself to a group of people you've met for the first time. Every concept of yourself that came to mind is, drumroll please, body identity. Body identity is nothing to be ashamed of, but chances are unlimited power and unlimited peace were not on your list of self-attributes. Unlimited power and unlimited peace. These are the benefits of mind identity. With belief comes experience, and with experience comes proof to yourself that these are indeed actionable attributes within you. Where we think we are this finite being in a dangerous world, doing its best, we actually have a greater sense of self that we could easily identify with if we give ourselves a chance. As a reminder, the only step is to remind yourself in this instant of now that mind identity exists as a possible explanation for your life and identity. That was body identity within mind identity. Again, if it works, you gain the universe. Alex Brady.